Hello, greetings, well met, fellow hail. Yes, just checking. Yeah, I hadn't left myself muted. I thought I might have done then. And I was waiting for the Odyssey page to catch up. Hello to anyone and everyone in the chat room. Just me at the moment so far. But thanks for tuning in. If you are tuning in or watching back later when this becomes a video on the Odyssey channel, tonight we're going to be chatting about a few things in general. This is the Ice Cream Social podcast. We're now up to episode number 3. The previous 3 episodes. Is that right? No, there is, because there's number 2, number 1, and then the first one, in effect, episode 0, which, when I've checked, they don't seem to be on my Odyssey channel at the moment. They obviously didn't transfer across from YouTube when it got switched over. So at some point in the near future, I will re-upload them onto the Odyssey channel so they're all together. But yes, I've got Please Stop the Ride and Anonymous in the chat room, and we'll be going through some of the various things that have been going on over the past few months. Interesting biotech developments, as well as talking about a lot of the situation in general. Hopefully we can show you a few different links. If I'm looking for my chat tab, oh no, looking at the wrong tab again, sorry. Yeah, we'll share a few links in the tab. If you've got any links that you want me to share, guys, just put them in the StreamYard chat, and then I can copy and paste them into the Odyssey chat. So, hello, welcome.
I have all mine opened up on the screen. Hello.
Cool.
Everyone.
Hello, everyone.
I wasn't sure I did put the link in for the Odyssey page, didn't I? So, hopefully you can see the chat room on there at least.
I think so. It lives.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd better type that in just as when I press the go live button, just so I could, keep an eye on how long the delay was taking before it actually kicked in and started.
Gotcha.
It's getting better on Odyssey. They're doing their best to keep up with the rapid growth in accounts opening up. In the popularity. I think more and more people are realizing that you've got to move away from those centralized platforms, the monolithic platforms like YouTube.
I just think it's hard because some people won't, like some people I know won't even watch a video if you share it to them from YouTube. But there's so much that's available. It's like everyone left YouTube, or not everyone, but so many left YouTube. And at the same time, the machine is pumping out all kinds of stuff that is on YouTube. But I actually know people that won't watch it just because it's YouTube. They don't want to give them the views, people say. Like, no, some of this is stuff they don't want them to see.
Yeah, there's ways around that. You can watch YouTube without giving views and stuff like that. So
I think some of it as well is that we're getting into the stages of the cult effect of belief systems, so that for many people, the Orwellian phrase "ignorance is strength" is becoming a dogmatic doctrine. So they don't want to look at links, and I've encountered this over the years. But at the moment, certainly for the past several months now, the pressure has built up to such a degree that you encounter it more often than not now. People will just say, "No, I don't want to look. I don't want to know."
Yeah, I've definitely encountered that. Definitely.
Ignorance is strength. People are just scared to look at information or consider something because they're worried about the consequences of what they might find out.
Yeah. And even the giving the clicks to, I know I hear it sometimes that when I do sources for my videos, I include the original source. I almost always will archive also, and then you could take it over there and you could open it up and archive. But I include the original source because I know people that would want that original source. I should probably include both links. I don't know. More work.
It is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
It's like, you know, you could do some of your own work.
Yeah,
the people watching, you know.
Yeah.
You can't do it all.
No. I mean, I like to include the stuff, but at the same time, there's so much. This project I'm working on right now, the source list is going to be massive. I mean, the pile of paper I'm going through is inches and inches high that I'm working with for this thing, and there will be a lot of sources.
I take a much more relaxed approach to that kind of thing.
I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I'm lazy. Sometimes I'm very, very, thorough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm trying to pack so much into the videos when I do them,
exactly.
So I try to put them in order and everything. But at the other day, I was even considering some of these things that I've been looking at all these different topics for so long, and it takes so long to put together this kind of package that I'm trying to deliver. And I'm like, maybe I should just try going through the pages, and record this big long thing. But then it's maybe not the same thing, and maybe I wouldn't do the same sort of presentation. I don't know. I don't know.
I like to do two types. Like I like to do where you just like Jeff used to do, where he just goes through the links.
Yeah.
And that takes a while. It can take hours, but it's a lot easier to go through them. Or you can do like the really thorough report, like I've done with blogs, where I have so many links that I actually have to post them separately just to fit the links in. Like I'll have to put it as a comment with the blog, just so I can give all the links to people.
Yeah.
And those take a long time. Those take months sometimes to do.
I even considered going live to go through them all, but I'm not brave enough to do that all on my own. I got to have people to talk to or sit there and wait for a response.
Everybody has to go through their own process. I found I did a lot of research and putting together that kind of constructive theorizing, when you'll sit there with various connections and you'll sort of plot them out, trying to figure out how do these all connect together, what is the purpose of them, key bono, that kind of thing. But I think I've become more and more resigned to the fact that after a while, I know some people say this is kind of like intellectual complacency, but after a while I can look around and see that so many people have or are doing the same thing, that if you desire to look for good corroboration, that kind of good thorough work of investigating the paper trail, the documentation, people have and are doing that constantly. So it's there available to you if you go out looking for it. Seek and you will find. But as I say, I'm self-aware of the complacency level of, you have to keep learning. So it's probably not accurate for me to say that I don't research at all, but I do only a small amount these days. It's sort of like just a validation process more than anything. When people mention study papers and things like that, I'll go and check the link of like, is that actually a real paper? Yes, it is. Okay.
Well, this thing I'm working on will definitely be one of my normal videos. I'm too deep into it to be relaxed about it. And it's terrible. It's terrible. I can't wait to be done.
I think I've come to this kind of stage because many years ago I found a phrase and a concept that suited me very well, and that was the art of survival. And the art of survival means conserving energy. And the more I learned over the years, like studying martial arts, studying survival techniques, all the various kind of things that you do, conserving energy. So if you don't need to expend a whole load of energy to attempt to, make an argument or present an argument to somebody else, you spend the minimum amount of energy. I think this is what over the years has led me further and further towards the philosophical approach and trying to come up with ways of presenting to people important concepts and principles in a way that doesn't overburden them Yeah, in the sense of, oh, you need to study for the next 20 hours before you'll get to this point. Yeah.
I'm looking at it like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers sort of thing, and it's terrifying. And I have yet to see, other than Jules talked about it before the first couple of Jules. She has the MP3s of her recordings, by the way. We were talking. She's trying to pull them all up. I got to listen to one of the shows and was able to go look for some of the links that, oh boy. But yeah, other than Jules, I haven't really seen anybody putting this together in such a, I mean, it's like I'm watching all these videos of that you show, Cookie, and others of people rising up, and people are becoming aware of what's going on. And this thing that's just, I mean, the video will be called What Keeps Me Up at Night, because it does. It's like, will it even matter? Will it even matter because of this, like this attack, this takeover? It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm working on it though. Hopefully not too much longer.
The agenda
what they have in
still
store is
ongoing.
Like on any, like unlike anything we ever seen before is what they have. Like they haven't even unleashed on us yet. It's crazy. Just technology. I don't even know how you fight against it, really.
No, and everything meanwhile is look over here, look over here. There's all these topics that are approved to argue over, and they're out there, and everybody's talking about them, and there's this like stealth underbelly sort of thing that's so I mean, it scares me. It really does. So.
The chat ninja shared an appropriate meme for that kind of situation. Yeah. Even the Twilight Zone isn't this fucked up.
Yeah. Seriously. Seriously. And on that note, do you want to talk about the one wacky thing? I've got a tab open. Let me go get it. Hold on.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know it's not like news, but I mean, I've definitely heard it talked about here or there, but I'm subscribed to this one channel here, and let me push the button. I'm subscribed to this one channel that is, well, where is it? Oh, there it is. The PA homepage. It's I think like an Eastern Pennsylvania news show. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like a news channel, but they show a lot of stuff that comes out of the state. Oh, and it's not even on the screen. Silly thing. Well, it is on my side. Do you see it now? Do you see the picture?
Yeah, now it's caught up. Yeah, it keeps going on and off.
Ugh, silly little thing. Anyway, what they're talking about, and hopefully you can see that, what they're talking about is how oh my goodness, Pennsylvania and other states, apparently a bunch of other states started it last year, but that Ginkgo Bioworks, the organism company, they're doing the testing on all the K-12 children. So, and they talk, the lady from Ginkgo is hilarious. I mean, it's called something else. Like it's one of their spin outs, because they do, oh, and I really screwed it up now. They have all these, oh, goodness gracious. All right. Well, that's not going to work then. I'll have to show another thing.
It knows you're screen sharing. That's
I guess it does. It was fine before.
Yeah.
But we'll try a restart of the page. But anyway, Ginkgo is sampling all the children, testing all the children. They're having them, oh, it's not that deep nasal swab. No, this is way milder. It is just a little swirl in one nose or one nostril and swirl in the other nostril. And they come in and their people will help administer the tests. I might as well take down screen share on that because it's not even going to work. But
I'll put the link in the side chat and I'll open it up.
All right.
See if it will work for me.
Yeah. Well, because I wanted to show you one other thing about that. But hang on, here comes the link. But yeah, so they're sampling the children, and this is especially creepy because they are the organism company, and they a couple years ago started working with human cells for their factories, their little on-demand drug factories is what they're saying right out the chute, that it'll be for drugs, and then it'll be for working on building all their different things. They're already doing fragrances and fertilizers and their drugs, but they want to build big things like roads and ships and phones, Can you see it now? The link I sent you, Cookie.
Yeah,
But
I was waiting for the bloody advert to finish.
oh, I gotcha. Yeah. But I mean, it seems to me that they're sampling the children to build up their library, because it's all, I mean, they're trying to gather the data. They sampled every life form on the planet. They've been gathering, you know, from bugs to little microbes and children. And if they're going to try to build the bioeconomy and the personalized medicine-based future, how nice that they'll have all the children sampled on a regular basis. But if you hit play, or don't really hit play, but if you scroll to where you see the person who's the new, well, not new, that person right there. I don't know if you probably know who you may know by now, the Pennsylvania's old person, the health person, Rachel Levin, who's now in charge of the whole country, or is running. I'll send you lovely images, unless you have one there of Rachel Levin. But this person here, they strike me as I watch them. I don't know. I'm wondering if we just got a pretty tranny now. I'm not sure though, but she makes me wonder. But yeah,
the MTF, as they call it, male to female.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Kind of boxy looking, and just we went from such a looker to this whole other thing.
I've noticed that there does seem to be a commonality in this kind of body shape, maybe I could call it. Yeah, I'm thinking of in New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern.
Yeah, she's not. This one's not quite as horsey. But yeah, I don't know if you watch other movement of the character. Whoa, I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going on there.
That's Google jumping it ahead. I didn't click on what
is going on here? But anyway, I mean, the Ginkgo.
There's no backup.
You want to destroy type.
Fuck you, Google.
You just got them paid.
Yeah.
Getting paid with commercials.
Yeah. But I know people talk about Ginkgo with like, oh, it's Bill Gates backed. It's also wholly funded by DARPA and ARPA-E in the beginning. You know, they were all those MIT spin-outs, and then they're making all their spin-outs that'll make all the drugs, that'll make maybe they will make your own your own cell phone, or your future implant could be designed for your biology if you were young enough to be part of their super testing. You know? It'd be great.
Tailor-made.
Yeah, tailor-made for you. But I think it's sick. I think it's crazy that, I mean, the children for them, and it's all voluntary, they say. It's not like they're...
Well, this is... Yeah, but that could also be described as the kind of gold rush effect of this, as they're switching over the technology from... how can I describe it? Like surface level medicine, even the medicine that you take internally, you know, it's got to be absorbed through your natural biology. But the kind of stuff they're now switching over to is where they are usurping the processes of your natural biology.
Oh, yeah.
Gathering your data, your DNA data is like, you know, it's worth more than gold to that new industry that's rapidly emerging. So of course they'll offer it to you for free. Yeah, no charge at all, mate. Yeah, give us your DNA. Thank you. That's worth however many hundreds of thousands to us.
Oh yeah, and it brought down this whole big test, all the things has brought down the price of sequencing so much. It's way cheaper than they ever talked about that it was going to be so cheap. And it's not just for the children, it's for the parents, it's for the teachers, it's for the siblings.
It's for everyone.
Yeah, forever. But they don't have to. They say that Ginkgo says that they don't have to go into any of their stuff, running your data with any kind of hypothesis of what they're going to get out of it. That the computer and all their mix and match everything. It's just, you're just giving them tools. All this. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. But yeah,
it's something. I'm not sure if many people have realised this. I don't know. Maybe it's just me that didn't exactly realise the implications of it. But for most of the narrative, they've been selling the point that once you get the vaccine, well, not really a vaccine, you know, the pretend, let's call it vaccine injection, most people have been given the impression that that's all they need to do. As we've seen over the last few months, you know, the reality that we were talking about last year, you know, it won't just be the one, it won't even just be the two, it will be forever. Yeah, they'll keep coming back with boosters and shit like that, or some other excuse. But one of the other sort of aspects of it is, as part of that, the testing is going to have to continue indefinitely en masse. Everyone's going to have regular testing, because otherwise, how can they monitor if your jab is working or not?
Yeah, they got to track their experimenting.
So, you know, that kind of industry is going to be building up and getting bigger and bigger and more intertwined into the infrastructure of society in the same way as the so-called vaccine production.
Yeah. Well, they're changing everything over. Yeah.
Where did Ginkgo produce the test kits? Are they made in the US or they're made somewhere else?
I don't know where they were made. I know they're using labs all around the country to run them. Yeah. But I don't know where they made the swab.
Yeah. So I think that's another element of the whole situation, yeah.
And is it so much? Is it a test or is it just a grab? Because they're doing that cohort thing where they take all of the children in the group and they put them all together. So they actually won't even. They have to do follow up screening if they say there's been a positive. But
yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. I have another link for you. It's a different topic, but I don't know. But I really want you to be able to see this one. But
do we need to hear it?
No, we don't need to hear it. I can tell you some of what he's saying. This is that Lucian.
This time then I'll try it in my Firefox browser. Because if we don't need to hear the audio, then I can just show it in the Firefox, and it means hopefully the Gestapo won't be able to mess it around like they did with that previous one. Because I've never seen it do that before, just automatically jump to a different video and start playing the advert for that other video.
It didn't work on my end. No. Computer said no.
I think maybe they're altering some of the applet software in the Chrome browser so that it gives them that kind of interruption or interfering with you attempting to play a video.
You see, Lucian wore a different hat. You see that? I don't know if I know you guys remember. We were talking before about that video, the World Economic Forum and the Sustainable Development Goals, the games they play. That Lucian Tarnowski, who he says he's a count. His dad said he's a count. He's like an ancestor of Catherine the Great, and like many times over a Davos attendee, and he's one of the young leaders for the World Economic Forum, and he's sending us along on the alternative path where we can all grow our own foods and we can live as communities and we can clean up the earth and all of this stuff. That their alternative, not the dystopian techno nightmare world. This is the good one, but it's from the same people. And he's at Virtual Burning Man, or being interviewed for a guy for Virtual Burning Man. And he had that artwork in one of the clips. I don't know if it made it into the video, but he's got a lot of interesting artwork. It has.
So has he provided some of his property, as a count? Maybe he's got some land somewhere. Has he provided any of that to be used for these communes that everybody's going to be living on? Or does he like just sitting in his palace and telling everybody that they should all go and live in wigwams?
Yeah, I don't know. I know the one of them, they're like a little intentional community that Costa Rica on with like little huts and stuff. But he's supposed to be Polish aristocracy, I think.
Right.
But
so possibly then he could come from that bloodline, but when you mentioned Catherine the Great, I had to bite my tongue to not shout out "horsefoot," because that's one of the main things she's renowned for. But,
I don't know what. Where's that word going to go? Where I think it was going to go?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's not speculation or conspiracy theory, you know.
It wasn't horse faced, right? You were going.
No,
Okay.
no, no, no.
Wow. Yeah. No, I didn't know that. That makes
She was.
Lucian even more special, I guess.
She was also one of the, you know, greatest leaders they had and stuff like that. But as should be apparent to people, if you take even a, you know, cursory look at history, almost inevitably, these so-called great people that lead great nations and whatever, they are perverse in many different ways. You know?
Oh, sure.
So, you know, just because they're such and such the great doesn't mean they're not some kind of twisted sociopath or psychopath or something else.
No, in a dystopian future, they'll talk about Billy Goat the Great. You know, he'll be Get the Great.
Yeah,
but
the great computer geek lord.
Yeah, that
I wanted to mention as well with this kind of stuff is like, for me, it reminds me of some of the things that happened 20, 30 years ago, where back then they were often described as the crusties. You know, certainly here in the UK, I don't think it sort of spread to be a kind of worldwide trend. It may have done a little bit, but you had a demographic of people that lived on the outskirts of society, and they were sort of like a modern version of the Romany gypsy types. You know, they would prefer to be semi-nomadic. They would move from town to town, and they'd do odd jobs. They'd do field work. You know, they'd do general labouring jobs, things like that. And at that time, you had the rise of rave culture, and a lot of the beginnings of the internet technology was driving a definite interest amongst a lot of certainly the younger people like myself back then, a lot of interest in utilizing technology to enable us to live in that kind of parallel society environment. So because there was a lot of interest in it, you had things like the Spiral Tribe movements, you know, that used to host illegal raves in various places around the country, and people would turn up, and it would be like almost like a mini Burning Man kind of environment. And it reminded me a lot of the same kind of social movement from the 60s. So that meant, of course, there was controlled agencies, you know, controlled endeavors to manipulate and steer that energy. So most of what it turned into is the forerunners to things like Extinction Rebellion. You know, you get a lot of those kind of controlled protest operations, and the energy just seemed to fade out. And then we got to the day of the going away of buildings, you know, 2001, and a lot of that attitude basically just disappeared. But sorry, long rambling explanation, anecdotal explanation. What this reminds me of, this situation, is we're going through exactly the same process again. There is a natural, organic, rising energy amongst the general populace that they want to be able to carry on living, you know, have a good lifestyle, happy, health, etc. You know, the usual kind of desires. But to do so means they have to live either on the outskirts of society or outside of society. In other words, in a parallel society. So because that energy is swelling up and it's getting, you know, massive at the moment, that pushback, that means there's going to be attempts to control it, steer it, usurp it, manipulate it. And along come characters like this. Yeah, and I'm not saying I've got anything that I could point at and say, he did this, he said that, whatever. I'm just pointing out that this happens every time the state system feels under threat by people wanting to live without being oppressed by the state system.
I wonder how much of the this people, I mean, I know I want to go live in the woods and have raise my own food and all that, but that's because I look at all the creepy stuff they're doing to food, and I'd like to stay as far away from it as possible. But I watch sometimes when I want to relax, I watch these homesteading people on YouTube, and even them, I have my wonders about them, how organic these people are. Because there just seems to be like this gang where they're all from a similar area.
It certainly has become a commercialized, trendified demographic.
Well, yeah, and they push the notion of being sustainable while you are ordering your chickens every year from a hatchery that who knows what they're doing to the chicks, and you raise your animals, but you bring in your feed, which we know they lace the feed with their synbio stuff, and all of these things, but they sell it as sustainable. And they definitely, I mean, geez, the one guy keeps throwing out terms that Peter Diamandis, the Singularity University guy that I've showed so many times, the one with the benign conspiracy to change the world, but it's okay. Yeah. It's all right, everybody. But yeah, he says a lot of things like him, and he even wears some of the tech now. The father of the script, he wears some of the tech that Diamandis pushes. I don't know. I've got real questions, because like Lucian here, he wants to have this decade be the decade of transformation. You know, I thought of you, Anonymous, because he talks about how humanity went through the chrysalis and we were birthed into this planetary civilization is what because what he does is talks like they're in 2030. He throws these parties to have people remember the future. And then, once we know what it is that we want to have, then we build our way there. I was thinking about it. I was like, well, could all of us good people, could we have a little get together and talk about where we'd like to be in the future and then how to lay out those plans? Would it work as well for us? Because we're not the power families that have run the show for generations, manipulating everybody and have control of the media and all the things. Sure, you can do like set a 10-year goal for yourself, but to change the world, I don't know.
There's a couple of things with that straight away that make me wonder. One is they're setting it in the future.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not what you have now, whereas really we need to be having these things now, not in some distant dream future. You know, the future is made of dreams. You know, we're not there yet. We're here now. So let's manifest this thing here now. And the other
he's not a good guy.
The other aspect I'd want to point out is that in a way makes a good example of epigenetics, because if you host an environment, I'll call it a party or a festival, in that kind of description, you know, if you turn up and remember the future, if it's all down to the environment that people are presented with and immersed within. So years ago, I used to be involved. There was a bunch of us who used to do live role-playing games, and sometimes we would organize them. So I got somewhat of an idea of what it's like to decorate an environment to make people feel immersed in a storyline. You know, it's like theater set decoration. So dependent on how you construct that environment that you then immerse the participant into, that will give them an immense bias towards the dreams of the future that they then experience. Yeah. So it's to me, that would indicate a very controlled desire towards a plan that is not yours. You know, you're not building that festival ground. These other people are building the festival ground and then inviting you to come along and experience it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first time he had the party, it was at Davos too. So I'm pretty sure that was the first one. And he says it's his new world game. It's called the Up Game, the United Planet. And they want to be, or they say they are Gaians. Like they have an oath that they all take as participants of this game. He says the oath in here, and the guy that's interviewing him is just in love with the thing. But one of the things as Gaians, so like not Americans, you know, not any of the stuff, you know, you're of the earth. And so then already of the earth with all the other life on the planet, how they justify manipulating the life on the planet, I don't know. That seems like they'd be bad Gaians. But one of the things that he...
sorry.
No, go.
I was just say, what if they participate in the Green Sabbath?
I don't know. I bet you he participates in all kinds of things. He loves his numbers. He loves all his symbolism and all the things, but he's not one of the good guys.
it's one of the things that frustrates me the most and has done for years. And yeah, I know you listen to like my Monday night shows, and when we do the reality chat, I rant about this kind of thing a lot. But the appropriation of knowledge and awareness of the environment we live in, and the reality that we're experiencing, all that kind of good stuff, of the immense amount of knowledge that's built up over thousands and thousands of years, and these people appropriate them, give them an air of mystique. They deliberately mystify them and make them seem magical, and then they entrance the public by dangling these things in front of them and going, oh, look, if you just have this thing, it makes you magical, and then you can have all the things you dream of. I'm really being facetious and simplifying it, but it is things such as the appropriation of sacred geometry. They plaster sacred geometric shapes over all their stuff. They've appropriated it as a brand logo, and they think it conveys a message of wisdom and knowledge, but it doesn't. It just shows that they don't really comprehend it, because they wear it like a flag. And if you're wearing it like a flag, that means you didn't really get the wisdom it conveys. You shouldn't need to be waving it in other people's faces, but that's what they do. In the same way with the Gaia thing, that alludes to a very particular ideology that only dates from around the 60s, because the terminology and the concept that supports it comes from that time period when the agenda was pushing a narrative of overpopulation. So it was all geared towards protecting Mother Earth from having too many people. And if you look at the principles involved in that kind of Gaia ideology, a lot of them are sound. A lot of them are basically just a reiteration of natural law. And that is that appropriation again. They take elements of reality that are beneficial for us, that are good knowledge to have, like natural law, and they dress it up as something else and then present it as something new.
And they say, and then we're going to steer you all and go this way. Because they're talking about how they're like, because his one thing that he did was earlier this year, I'm pretty sure, was he did this Remember 2030. He wrote a love letter from the ancient future. And he's talking about how like the Vatican opened its entire archives and shone a light on the metaphysical reality of our world and let us know that we're not alone in the cosmos and all this stuff, which I don't know, makes me think of the alien stuff going on. But and yeah, he's all into Hermeticism. But he also talks about how the wealth holders and families that have for generations have funded the transition to get us to this 2030 world that he's dreaming of. And then our pension funds followed, he said, which is funny because the pension funds are totally helping lead this charge right now with all the investments that they hold. So
that sounds a little bit like a hubristic acknowledgement, almost a Freudian slip, you could say, to George Carlin's famous observation.
It's a big club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not in it, and they're coming for your pensions.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the famous sort of...
I forgot about that line.
What do they call it? The last line you give in a joke, the punchline.
Yeah.
That was one of his famous sort of punchlines to his little comedic diatribes. He said, they're coming for your pensions.
How
and
accurate.
He's basically, in a kind of Freudian slip, admitting that, we're going to have your pensions as well, because look at all these pension funds investing in this stuff now. That is basically your pension.
Yeah, big banks, big pharma, big tech, and then does not make the people that hold these pensions actually karmically responsible for a lot of the stuff if they're funding and they're adding to these things and supporting these things that are bringing on all the bad. Like they're just as much to blame.
Like the Vatican investing in weapons manufacturers.
Yeah.
But this is what I was trying to describe, that kind of re-emergence of the 60s energy and logos that went along with it. And of course, along comes the archetypal Pied Pipers. But these don't represent the entirety of what's going on, or the reality of what's going on. Here in the UK, we constantly get bombarded by the Russell Bland character, and the two of them, this Lucian and Russell, are archetypally the same. They're supposed to represent the thought leader, the social leader of a demographic, representing what those people think. But no, I come back to my analogy of the environment you construct will bias the dreams that people experience while they're there.
One of the things that he talks about with the Gaian thing is that they evolved, and this is from the future, that they evolved a language, Gaian, like this global language, so that, and it's multi-sensory and multi-dimensional. He wants everybody to wear haptic suits so they can communicate with emotions and feelings and all this. And I know he's talking about using your body in all these different ways to communicate, but it made me think of, I just read this book. Did you ever read, and this book actually made me think of something you said the other day, Cookie, but I can't remember what it was, but it was something you said that really struck me from it. But the book, Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. It's from the 90s, but it's it's about the metaverse. I don't know, Anonymous, if you've ever read it, but it's about the metaverse and people, like a virus that can infect people in the real world, but also through the computers, and it like fries out their brain. But they all these people, it goes back to ancient like Sumeria or something, and that they had I have it here. Sorry, that was pretty noisy. But they have this like Babel language that they all can speak, that everybody, and that it like hypnotizes people. It takes, anyway, it was really weird. And I'm not selling the book really well, but it's an interesting book.
I think I saw someone talk about that book just not that long ago. I remember seeing a clip describing something just like that.
Really? It's very interesting. Yeah. It was a strange book, but especially how they deal with the virus side of it all. I heard about it on This Week in Google. They've talked about it many times. And actually, I think Jeff talked about it once too, or mentioned it in passing. I've been listening to old stuff here and there, and I know I heard it, but yeah, This Week in Google, they talked about it as a good explanation of the metaverse. And since you hear about that all the time, I thought I should take a look at it. And I'm glad I did, messing with people trying to exist in multiple realities.
What would be the purpose of the haptic suit if you've already got a chip to the brain or a wire to the brain? Bodies are going to become inconsequential.
Yeah.
This is why I've been arguing for years, and this has been the reason for the push towards transgenderism. It's not that they give a shit about whether people want to be a different sex or anything like that. It's because they want you to view your body as being like a car with interchangeable parts. Yeah. So you can just remove them, as well as obviously the connotations towards procreation and fertility, because it helps stem the population growth. But primarily they want the public to be psychologically separated from their bodily experience.
Well, and that video there, that Lucian, that interview, I'm pretty sure it was in that one where he was talking about gender and how this is such a conflicting sort of topic. People were so like one way or the other about it that it had to be cast aside. And so the people they had to cast it aside. And that book, I don't know if, I know that Anonymous, you finished it, but I don't know if you finished that Woman on the Edge of Time, Cookie, but they also in there, they had to cast aside the gender roles because it was the only way they could actually come together and have the peace, was if even the women gave up having children, and then everyone can be a mother and all this stuff. But yeah.
It's as well, again, it's very cult-like in its desire to separate people from what they once were. You have to start all over again from new. You know, you're not the sex you thought you were. You have to come up with something different.
Yeah, or just be Gaian, not have any of it.
But that again, you said that's why I get so frustrated with this kind of crap, because if they're talking about those kind of sacred geometrical natural law principles, then from that follows exponentially you get to male and female. You get to the duality of our species, that there is male and female. It was a progression of division of labor to enable us to, you know, get stronger and survive more readily and actually procreate to a level of comfort to avoid the, you know, natural dangers in the world and whatever. It made sense biologically, naturally, to have two sexes.
Oh, sure.
So it's part of natural law. Yeah. So the concept of, oh, well, Gaian means that there's no such thing as sex or gender is completely back to front. It's like, no, if you actually have any kind of faith in some of the principles that you're claiming represent that Gaian ideology, then you should have faith that there is male and female, because it's the way reality operates. The sacred geometry shows you that. Yeah, it's throughout nature. There are obviously asexual exceptions and hermaphroditic. There are exceptions, but when you're talking about the humans, the people, we are male and female.
Yes.
They need people to see it as being the old way. You know, this again, I'd reference, and I'd caveat myself in saying I'm not saying this is everybody who's involved in that stuff and whatever, but there are archetypal role models and leader figures that they put in front of people that are drip feeding these kind of misdirected or polluting misinterpretations so that it steers people in a bad direction.
Yeah, Lucian was talking about the archetypal roles. That's what they, in the other video the video I did about them, that games they play, that he talked about how they have the archetypal characters playing their game. Yeah, said be strong, and they've got such great people involved. Which I wonder if those people know what they're involved in. But if they were on the same video call thing that I was watching, then they heard Lucian talk about where he came from and where his concepts came from. So they got to know somewhat, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they don't think it's bad.
Or there's too many. There's too many of the good triggers that they feel attached to, while at the same time they've still got that negative attachment of, I need an external leader to tell me how to do this thing. Yeah, rather than being able to absorb and internalize the wisdom, the knowledge, those kind of philosophical principles, etc. Instead, they still externalize to a leader, which is why there are those archetypal leader roles.
Yeah.
They may like the fact that he talks about living with nature, getting back in tune with nature and living in a sustainable fashion, you know, some of the keyword triggers. There's probably going to be loads of elements of what he's talking about that they're like, yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
And then they can let go of the fact that he says it'll be funded by those big corporations. Yeah. They'll let us do it. They'll fund your game so you can rebuild the world, transform. You'll be part of the transformation team. I forget what he calls it.
You'll be on the reservation.
Yeah. Of your own choosing. And the genetics of what you populate the world with is really important.
And when you compare that to the current situation, do you really think that they're going to let you live on your little reservation without them turning up and asking to see for your vaccine passport?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Well, because they want these all over the place, right? They want to change the whole planet over to this new what do they call it? Their perpetual planetary party. Yeah.
The human corridors.
Passed a bill in Canada called Bill C-15, which is going to basically make everyone's private property the property of the Indigenous people of Canada. So we'll see.
Which is why they thank and they recognize the tribal land that they're on, right? Like every talk, like everything.
The city I escaped, Edmonton, they always refer to as Treaty 6 land all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly. They even renamed all their wards of the city after Indigenous names.
Nice.
There's like 15 of them, I think, and they all have, they used to be, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they're all different names, Indigenous people.
Does that mean you're all now going to be entitled to a payout from the Queen every year? Because I know it's something ridiculous like $5. Every Indigenous native person is entitled to something like $5 per year from the Queen.
Wow, that's generous.
Well, now they're going to be the new property owners.
Yeah.
I do in quotation marks for property, or owners, I mean, but yeah, they'll be technically the new property owners, and I guess they'll get to remove anyone they want off the land.
If they're made the new property owners via the power of that bill, then that means they're made the new property owners by the power of the people that created that bill, passed that bill through the Parliament.
Yeah.
So exactly.
That therefore means there will still be the power of that Parliament over the top of them. So basically your situation doesn't really change at all. It's just that they are telling the people that, now that demographic of people is your managers. They're now the owners and managers. So, fight with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just to harm everyone else under a different, using a puppet, basically.
Yeah, like a proxy warfare.
Yeah.
I suppose you could describe it as sort of like legal proxy warfare or proxy legal warfare, using legal structures to cause demographics of the public to be set against each other.
With like a fake respect for the people, the lands where
in the same manner as they've done with multiple other peoples and cultures around the world, including one particular ethnic group that always likes to claim like they're the maximum victims ever throughout history. The system will quite happily use them, and it will use their suffering to make moral claims to the general populace. So it's like, we have to do this because look at this poor ethnic group or minority or demographic or whatever that's suffered so much oppression at whose hands? It was ours, but now we feel sorry for them, so now we're going to deify them to a degree that it's going to cause you other people to now become the oppressed ones. I know that just sounds like cliched. It is though. Divide and conquer, divide and rule.
Definitely.
I think we mentioned it before we were going live about how some ethnic groups are more racist than others.
Oh yeah, I'll throw that link at you.
Yeah, this seems to be something that the system's always done, but certainly in recent times it's still been amplifying and fanning the flames of racial ethnic divides. And in the same manner as like you're just describing, they're now trying to persuade some ethnic groups that they have now been deified, that all of a sudden now they're being lifted up by the power of the state. So that means that it's the old demographic group that used to be on top has now been pushed underneath. So the fight carries on. It's just the sides have changed. It's like when you swap ends in a football match, halfway through they swap over which way they're playing. That's all they've done.
Yeah.
Sorry, the link.
Oh yeah, that was just the one because I I know I had already told you guys, but how the anti-Asian, all of this in the media every now and again, and how we don't like certain people, they say, and how they need to be protected and everything. But this one African YouTuber that I watched, that he shared this from another YouTuber, because it's the big business in Africa. It's like the thing to become a YouTuber, and it's like they gotta, then they'll pull the rug out from under them too. Man, the smart city worlds and all the stuff that they're building there. But yeah, that video, they're interviewing an African guy in China, interviewing all these different people that are from Africa that were in China when the Rona happened, and they were most of them, some of them were saying that everybody was nice and everything was fine, but that they were looked at as the disease spreaders, and they people wouldn't serve them. There's another video on his channel where there's a woman crying, an older woman crying because of how mean they were to her because she wasn't Chinese, and that she was probably spreading the disease. And then there's another terribly sad one on his channel that is this like stadium or arena where all these young people getting the jab. Oh my gosh, it was sad. But yeah, that's just thought I'd show for the. And I see another link there. But yeah, how they weren't being treated very nicely either, which there is that animosity, right, between the different peoples.
The outsiders treated as the unclean.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately just a truism throughout history. Yeah. The tribalism kicks in whenever people feel under threat. So that means whoever's considered an outsider to the tribe, like if you're an immigrant or if you're just new to the neighborhood,
which over here, there's so many different kinds of people over here, Well,
that makes a divide and conquer work better for them, doesn't it? Because they've got a whole load of choices of who they can set against who.
Yeah, but they can say that, oh, you're being anti-Asian, and this attack because they were Asian and all of that. But at the meantime, they're not being. I mean, as a generalization, there's other people being treated poorly because of. And then the Chinese people in Africa and all the videos that have come out. I know I was telling you guys earlier about like Chinese men visiting tribes and groping the women in pictures, and then people get very mad, obviously, rightfully so, putting that on the internet. But
unfortunately, there's what do they call them these days? Sex creeps. The sex creeps and pervs in every ethnic group around the planet. So
sure,
all they need to do is take advantage of a photo opportunity to serve their purposes of which demographic they're trying to agitate. They want to agitate black people in America. They show them images of a Chinese guy groping African women, guaranteed to trigger them.
Yeah. It's so sad, though, watching this stuff with Africa and how they're going just so tech heavy. I mean, I remember that Dr. Mumby that Jeff and I talked about several times, that she was part of the UN, or worked for the UN, but then she was out of it. And man, when I found her, she was railing against Bill Gates and all this stuff and how he sterilized their women and she was covering so many different things. And now she's a whole other creature, and she never takes the tablet off her hand. In her videos, she's talking about this warfare that's being done against them and trying to take over their peoples. And I had left her a comment. I said, Mumby, put the tablet down. It's not good. They already got you. And all these people that are funding their lives now over there with this, everyone wants to be a YouTuber. It's amazing. It's amazing how many people, and it's great. They're getting paid. I mean, they have phone calls. The one guy, he has calls with Susan, they're big. They get their buttons and they.
I wonder if they have similar incentives. I think they do, but I'm thinking along the lines of similar incentives that they've done in India, where people will be given free access to a certain degree, like they have limited access for free to internet services, and that includes access to the major platforms like Facebook and Twitter, things like that. But it's limited because it's free access. But they're deliberately rolling out free access to get people hooked on the devices, while at the same time they're giving them the same kind of propaganda of like, oh, you know, you could start working in cyber. You can retrain to work on the internet. Why don't you just become a YouTube celebrity, become an Instagram influencer, and all that kind of, you know, virtual employment.
Have this hollow, worthless life where you're really not doing anything.
Yeah.
Not to say it's all bad, but
where you make money by looking at videos of people making money by looking at videos of people making money by looking. It's literally, to me, in a sort of esoteric sense, it's like being trapped inside the Tesseract. Yeah, you're looking at a reflection of a reflection of a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. There's no reality there anymore.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's like the Instagram is one of the worst for it. You know, people present this imagery of themselves, or you know, their partnership or their family or whatever, and the majority of it is manufactured. It's crafted to present a certain image.
Yeah.
You occasionally might encounter them now these days because there's so many of them. It's not unusual to see them out in the wild. It's almost like spotted wild animals. Yeah, you just might happen across somebody pulling some kind of weird yoga pose in the middle of the high street while they photograph themselves. Yeah, what they're doing they're creating an image to put on their social media feed. Why? They don't live like that. They don't go out every day practicing yoga in the middle of the road on the high street, are they? No, they're doing it just to present an image, a crafted image. That's the illusion world. Yeah, and they're trying to drag all the people in Africa now. It's like a brand new marketplace for them to saturate with that, and to convince or try and convince the people there that, oh, you know, you need to earn a living. You've got no manufacturing jobs anymore or anything. Well, just put up videos on YouTube and do that.
It's so funny that I know there's poor people everywhere and there's wealthier people, but the images that they show, my feed is populated with all these videos, mostly about Ghana, I think, because the one guy is from Ghana, but that all just huge developments and these people, they're all these smart houses and everything rich, fancy, brand new. And then the World Bank, I think it was, just did a video about the poor people of Ghana, and it was just like the barefoot in the dirt streets and the huts. And I know that both probably exist, I get that, but it's funny, the focus.
There has been a distinct focus on Central Africa for a number of years now, but it seems to have increased over the last few years. I know I would have said this as well. I'd still say this, and many other people would. A lot of that is the kind of like commercial corporate warfare that's taking place across Africa to support things like the pipelines and rare earth mineral extraction, etc., you know, resource extraction. But there does seem to have been an increased effort to influence what's going on in Central Africa and to control that area.
Yeah. Well, the more they can get them connected to the internet, the easier it'll be for them to convince them not to have kids and stuff like that, because they've tried to depopulate them with vaccines and they got busted on that. So that's not working too well for this time around. So they have to get them, you know,
the digital
distracted
drugs
from reality, get them hooked into the Instagram so that then they can brainwash them into vaccines again.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. 24/7 propaganda that is available via the mobile handsets. This is something, one of my bugbears that I've ranted about for donkey's years. Most people now walking around with the equivalent of what would have been like back in the 40s and 50s. It would have been the tannoy on a pole at the end of the road that would every day broadcast messages from the great leader the dictates for the day. Whereas now people are carrying that thing around with them 24/7, and the way the tech has been deliberately shifted in this direction, the intention is for it to be on and connected 24/7.
And the number of people that I see with the earbuds, the tech shoved in their ears, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What is that doing? We're going to work on that, though, right, Ben?
The only dictates I hear in the morning is the rooster nearby crowing.
Oh, how you suffer! We need to get you some more technology surrounding you.
Could you send it my way so I can be indoctrinated again, please?
Yes,
there's too much nature out here.
Golly, and I bet you can't get everywhere you need to be in 15 minutes there.
No 15-minute communities.
You're going to suffer. It's not good.
You could always get an electric bike. You'd need to pedal all the way to town to be able to charge it up, though.
That's right.
Those things are everywhere here, and the gas-powered ones. They're really loud, but
they had the Lime scooters back in Edmonton. I hated them so much. I was gonna do like a full-on blog about it, but never got around to it, and it doesn't matter anymore.
You've escaped.
So I'm not there. Yeah, I've escaped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put this link up because it had some stuff about using the indigenous culture to influence society. There's a section called where it says indigigogy, and it explains what that means and stuff like that. It's a bit way down. It's like the future of the knowing or something like that. Hold on a second. Look what it says. It's harder to use when you're on a device because I actually have to leave the chat and stuff.
I'm scrolling down. I don't want to go too fast in case I miss it. There's knowledge production. It might be in amongst that.
Did I say it on here or was it earlier? I'm not sure. With the Indigenous, that woman on the edge of time, how the people, the different places they identify as the ancient tribal groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. But then there's no division. There's no fighting. They can look like anything, but they're all whatever, Wampawong, I think was the one kind. I'm not trying to make fun. I think that was what it was.
Oh, I lost my place on it.
I found it. Indigogogogi.
Wait, Indiegogo.
Yeah, that's.
No?
I was looking at the wrong.
Okay. No. Okay.
It almost sounds
Policy Horizons, the Canada.
Yeah.
It's that same one that had the
Welsh.
biodigital convergence.
Yeah, I thought it looked familiar.
Yeah, that was just a little bit further back.
They keep pumping out these creepy articles.
Yeah.
But this one's all about, a lot about misinformation, conspiracy theorists, and just deceiving people with natural areas with their AR tech. Lots of creepy stuff in this one. So that's something you guys can look through later. I don't expect you to read it this time because I don't have the places marked.
Well, and the Indigenous communities definitely would have access to all the tech because the 5G rollout, the FirstNet thing, there was a huge focus on the native populations, being sure that they were included in that, so that their every movement could be tracked and watched. Yeah, for their safety.
They got a section here about reconciliation and decolonization. Indigenous peoples express their cultures, values, languages, and ways of knowing in many ways across multiple channels. Indigenous futurism, activism, community development, and scholarship show that continuing vitality of Indigenous ways of knowing, increased awareness of Indigenous worldviews could help Canadians recognize and reevaluate colonial ways of thinking. Accepting Indigenous ways of knowing could inspire new perspectives of political, economy, institutional reform, the environment, and social policy.
Yeah, that one word, the most obvious and easiest way that works, the concept of decolonization, is if the whole environment becomes a reservation.
Yeah.
It's not working the other way round, is what I mean. Yeah, it's not that the Indigenous people are being given back their environment, and the Canadians, are being the outsiders, and now being put back into that position of being immigrants. No, it's just that the whole country is being turned into one big reservation. So you're being given equity. Yeah, because that's one of the guiding principles, isn't it, behind most the big agendas, is they're trying to enforce equity. And when they say equity, they don't mean equality. Yeah, they mean everybody on the same playing field, which means rather than giving the Indigenous people the rights that they should really have, instead they're telling the Canadians that they're in the wrong, therefore they have to lose a certain amount of rights to make them equal to the Indigenous people. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So rather than lifting the Indigenous people up, they're pushing the Canadian people down. So it puts you all in the reservation together.
Oh yeah, and the equality thing. Some come up, some come down. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the end result, the sort of the net mean result, is everybody's further lower down.
Yeah.
And this, I recommend watching. I think it might be on my Odyssey channel if it transferred across. A video done by Russell Means called "Welcome to the Reservation," and it was many years ago. It was done by, InfoWars, but I'm glad to say InfoWars didn't really interfere with it. They just let him do his own video. And he talks about various things in that explain this kind of reducing down of everybody's rights, such that you all end up on a reservation. Welcome to the reservation. All of you are now being treated the same way they've been treating a lot of the Indigenous cultures, a lot of the Indigenous peoples for decades, a couple of 100 years or more.
And wait a minute, isn't there been all kinds of stuff about them being disrespected and not given any kind of rights on the lands that they were given? I'm doing the bunny ears. And now we all get to share that. That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Hypocrisies of the treaties. Most of the treaties were not stuck to. Even though they were supposedly guaranteed certain rights, most of those rights have been completely disregarded.
Yeah.
But isn't that just typical for the controlling state system? Doesn't matter whether you're black or white or brown or yellow or whatever, that they will try and extract from you while suppressing you at the same time.
Yeah.
They play a game of putting us in different sort of demographic brackets, and supposedly some of you are higher up in those brackets than others, but really we're all still stuck in the same cage. Just because you're on a different perch at a higher level doesn't mean you're outside the cage. You're still in the same cage. But yeah, I remember you posting the links to some of their other articles. They do seem to be making a very particular effort to push some of this merging with tech. Because that's the other thing I was thinking about while we were talking about it, is this sort of where was it? The biological effects of social experience. This is them taking non-corporal concepts, in other words, things that are metaphysical, or at least, or they don't have a physical aspect to them that can be weighed and measured, but they study them like in psychology, like in sociology kind of academic areas. They take the information and they're now starting to encode it into digital forms. So they're using it to educate, or maybe I should say train, the various algorithms, the AI systems.
Oh, definitely. Everybody
part of the reason why they keep suggesting to people, like the other guy earlier you mentioned talking about the haptic suits.
Lucian.
Yeah, why do they want people to take up touch feedback haptics interfaces? Because then the computer can learn human movement.
Oh yeah.
To the
reaction.
degree, yeah, they'll be able to learn it to the degree that they'll have the same level of intricate dexterity, like manual dexterity, like the human hand. At the moment, the robotics is still struggling with getting that level of control and touch and things like that. Whereas if we all start immersing ourselves in the VR and AR and doing things like wearing haptics, prosthetics, then we are going to be programming those AIs how to do those movements, how to replace us.
Definitely.
What was it? The one they talked about a little bit, I think it was last year or the year before, the robot that does brain surgery. Yeah, that robot was partly trained by studying surgeons.
Oh yeah, surgeons using the machines
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah, now it
Yeah.
doesn't need them. Sure.
There's an old clip of Arthur C. Clarke talking about how in the future they will have surgeries from like across the country. A surgeon will be using, the internet to perform surgeries to someone half across the world and stuff like that.
That's part
exactly
of that
what we're seeing with the
democratizing.
telemedicine. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because you should be able to have a specialist, even if you're in some obscure location. You should be able to have a specialist. I'm at the very end of reading 2001. So that's yeah.
Maybe you won't necessarily get a specialist because I think maybe Arthur maybe he wasn't exactly thinking in terms of just how far this will fractally spread. Sorry, I'm waffling a bit to try and explain what I mean. You might not necessarily get a specialist. By the time it gets to the stage of them being able to map the abilities of a specialist to do such surgeries, like just mentioned, like the robot that can do brain surgery, you won't be connected to a computer. You'll be connected to a chunk of software. The specialist will be a emulated
one of those soul machines.
Twin.
Yeah.
It's just like that robotic kitchen that I've always, like the Mole's robotic kitchen, where they map out the chef's handwork and stuff and then they'll be able to make your meals and stuff. So it's the same thing with the surgery.
That Jose Andres guy, that one video I have up that Are We Giving Our Heroes, that he wants to be turned into or have a robot take his job. I
was just wondering about when you said about the chefs, do they then claim that you have been served by whatever name, sous chef or Michelin star chef? Because if that machine is emulating his actions, his motion, I'm saying he, it might be a she, but you know what I mean. If it's emulating their ability to cook to the same exact degree, then won't they just label that robot as being the so-and-so Michelin star chef? Whenever this thing makes a meal for you, it's like you've been served by that person.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's because you can have all your different digital, like you experiencing and doing things. So that would be them. And they could put those robots. Have you seen that it's called Reef, the REEF, and it's they're taking parking lots and turning them into, like, they have shipping containers sort of things for restaurants, for the ghost kitchens, that they can pack these parking lots, and then it's the Uber Eats and all these people come through to pick it up. But they could have those robots in there. Everybody could have, what's one of those chefs? Bobby Flay. Everyone could have his fancy pants anywhere you are, and it'll be his.
You could get the Gordon Ramsay one, but it might not be safe for families. Yeah.
Oh.
Just swear and shout at you.
Yeah. It'll flip over the food and say, "Where did you get this from? It's full of rat droppings."
Oh. Yuck.
That kind of what you was just describing, the reef setup, that makes me think of the kind of nomadic workforce environment, the limbo demographic that has been building up now for quite a few years. You know, there's a
gig thing, the gig.
Yeah. Because you get that obviously in every nation, in every region. You'll have a certain demographic of the population that end up living that way, either by choice or financial constraints. You know, they live in that kind of gig economy, but that seems to have become a worldwide effect, such that there is a demographic of people that, up until obviously the lockdown restrictions on international travel, but there were a large demographic of people that were moving to various places around the world to fulfill various job roles. You know, I'm thinking of the situation like when they were building the Grand Prix race course in the Middle East. And there was a lot of transient workers that it was in the press for a little while. You know, they were being treated poorly. They were being treated like slaves, basically. But there's a lot of that demographic now can't really move around the way it was 2 years ago. You know, where people would travel to a different country to work for several months and then come back to a home base. Here in the UK, when they started doing the lockdowns, part of the reason why there were delays in deliveries in the commercial logistics train kind of thing, feeding supermarkets and shops with supplies and stuff like that. Part of the delays created were because a lot of the immigrant workers that used to work the truck driving routes all come across from the continent, from Europe. So when they introduced the lockdowns, a lot of them basically were not able to come here and work anymore, or they chose to stay in their home country. You know? So that transient workforce is potentially provided for by that kind of semi-nomadic technological setup, you know, where they can turn up with those robots and have like a mini mall kind of effect, like pop-up mall.
Yeah.
That seems to suit having a large transient workforce. Yeah,
and they can brew the ingredients for like these foods and stuff right there in the parking lot too. They can have everything made right there. I'll send you another link.
I take it that's made from like base chemical constructs.
Oh yeah, they could harvest. They could have all the vehicles. Well, if they'd be electric cars, I guess they wouldn't have exhausts, but they could be sucking in. Remember, they had in parks in China the sucker machines, the smog suckers that turned them into diamonds, but they could feed them to the microbes instead. Yeah. And maybe not every town. I know where I am, we have a massive landfill where people from all around, there are towns from all around, they send their junk to our landfill, which Bill Gates owns a big share of. And they can feed them that too. But depending on how they program the microbes. I just sent you another since I was talking about the brewed on site sort of thing. It's actually 2 links, but where they're having in North Carolina the cellufacturing cell-based infant formula. Yeah, but the brewed up milky milks, not like the ones that bio milk and the turtle tree. There are several different kinds, but these guys are just in North Carolina. But it's this cell cultured milk has grown and accelerated, and it's going to be this whole big thing. And it'll be safer, and cleaner, more pure, and sustainable.
And 99% cheaper.
Oh, yeah. They're thinking right now that it's like, it costs $1,000 an ounce, they say. But pretty soon, once they get that $1 US dollar an ounce in their little design, they could do it anywhere. replicated around the world, and then no child has to be without quality food. And then they use some of these things for like sports drinks and stuff, supplements. But yeah, everybody deserves access, right, to this clean stuff.
That just sounds so weird that the milk factory will be autonomous and continuously scalable.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that just seems like I want to go back to that meme of like, even the Twilight Zone wasn't this fucked up. Just that sentence alone just twists my melon. What?
Yeah. And what if they order their bits that they use for brewing? They could order them from Ginkgo, and they could be like, wow, this group of children, they've got really good milk production. Let's use their, we'll base it off of there. Yeah. Them.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Soylent
This is
milk.
a good stock.
Ugh. Yeah.
There won't be any adults left, so I guess it will be all children, eh?
Yeah.
Kill off all the adults because they can have the new generation. The alpha gen.
I'm seeing
reduce the lifespan so that we are, it's a quicker turnover. So then they don't have to
they'll
worry
mature
about
faster
pension.
and die quicker too.
Yeah.
Just like they wanted to do in Brave New World.
Everywhere. I have Google alerts set up to feed me things whenever they talk about that alkaline hydrolysis, the melting down of the. I was gonna do a big thing on it, but golly, I have so many big things I want to do, and I'm not gonna get there. But everywhere is legalizing this melting people down, and pets, and it's the greener, cleaner way to go. And that they say, because they send it to the sewers, and they say that the sewers, that the microbes love it. It's great food for the microbes.
I was talking about this in 2018, that the hydrosis, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Again, it's a funny name, but yeah, I was talking about that because it reminds me of the Tar Man on Return of the Living Dead 2. It's a zombie guy.
I don't know that.
It's kind of a silly 80s horror movie. It's
I've heard of
it, The Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead's the sequel to it. I like it better.
Yeah.
But anyways, it reminds me of Tar Man.
Two classics. They were really, really good zombie movies.
Well, the way how they can feed, if they start, because they have the 2.0, with the aqua cremation, they have the 2.0 where they're not sending it to the sewers, and they're reserving it to that they could give it to a farmer or to the families. But I mean, if they start feeding that to the microbes, golly, it's perfect for the circular economy. And there's so much. I mean, you talk about the hunting for the animals, they're bad for the environment, right? They want to take them down. That so many articles coming in about the vet clinics, and they already were using it. They make special ones just for them. They make big ones for the farms. They make these little multiple chambered ones for your local vet's office. And then they have the not so high pressured, easy to explode systems coming out for the people. And it's cleaner and greener, guys.
Yeah, just look up the company Recompose. They're all about turning the human bodies into farm fertilizer.
Yeah.
And I was calling this way back then because I was seeing it, the trend of the body farms in Vancouver and stuff. It's all about turning. It's not so much about environmental as it is about turning people into products.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's just all to dehumanize the people. Like you don't have any more tombstones. You don't have graveyards anymore. They've been in Vancouver. They've been double, triple selling graves so that you can bury people on top of people, and they make more money, and it's more environmentally friendly like that. Just crap like that. It's just dehumanizing. And there's a company that recovers, when people have like a metal screws and stuff inside their bones, and they get what do you call it? When you get like a pin put in your bones and stuff, they recover those materials, and that's also
they reuse them,
turning people into products. Yeah,
Yeah, they were
Exactly.
using
They
like,
turn
oh,
into
you
profit.
can get this. You have breast implants; they'll be left behind after this gentle process, and they can be reused again. Someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm in the book Brave New World, because I always talk about it every time I get a chance. Everyone was turned to fertilizer, and everyone was biophysically equal. Every man, woman was equal as fertilizer, biochemically equal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Soylent Green thing, could very easily be people, because if they're feeding it to the microbes that they can make anything from,
Yeah.
they say that they will make everything from.
At what point do they consider cannibalism? Because even at that distance in the food chain, if you're being used as fertilizer,
oh yeah,
that basically means that the elements of what was your body are being taken up into the plants that are grown in that plant, in that earth. And if those plants are then turned into the food that you eat, at what point do you say it's not cannibalism?
well, sure. And then they say that it's cleaned up by the microbes and the chemicals and all the things, but right now, the places that it was legal before all these new places have approved it, I haven't looked to see what they say, but they let them put it down the sewer. And they said that the blood of embalmed people, that's just where that goes, is right into the sewer, which goes to wastewater plants. I mean, and then they're fed back in, because it's all about recycling water now. They're going to change what's usable. What's the word? I can't think of it. But
what the heck is it called?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a company where you can grow your own flesh. You can grow your own, like culture your own flesh and grow it for food. And I think that's probably will come out in 2022.
There were those people. They had like a countertop one, that it was an open source development.
Yeah, it's
jeez.
I was wondering that about.
I can't remember the name. It's in one of my posts on Hive. I'm just trying to find it.
There's so many creepy companies.
Because I was wondering that kind of thing with this bit here. They're talking about why they designed it the way they did. The reason a continuously scalable design is possible is fundamental to our biotechnology yielding continuous production. And then they're talking about how it's basically like plug and play. It's a system where the design could just be recreated anywhere. And they're talking about, it's mainly software driven, obviously. So you are talking about something that you could create a mini scale version of it that's like a desktop or a countertop version.
Oh, yeah. And it could run off your apartment building or your sewer tube complex, all the wastes. Can feed all of these things.
And from what you were just saying about that other company, you could in effect put your own cells into it, like skin cells or hair or whatever, and then you could start growing your own flesh and use that for your T-bone steak kind of thing. So what the hell?
Well, I remember talking about this before, where they said that they used the argument that it's speciesist to not consider including human cells in the lab-grown meat or the countertop-grown meat sort of setup, because,
that's just, to me, that's the same kind of, I was going to say flawed argument, but I know they're doing it deliberately, so therefore it's sophistry, it's deliberately being misleading. But that's the same kind of thing as what I was trying to describe with the indigenous people's rights against the rest of the citizenry. They're not talking about you being biologically equal in that sense. They're describing biological equity. You will all be reduced to the same level,
Yeah.
Let me get that other link opened up that you put in.
Yeah, that's their website, that company, the North Carolina company, Hillsborough, North Carolina. It's the first, they repurposed the factory. That's so nice. So green.
That could be ambiguous.
Boris steak.
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah, those guys.
Man, what a name to give it as well.
Yeah.
Are you eating your steak today? Your Ouroboros snake
Grab
steak?
the link.
Ugh. Yeah.
No,
Well,
no,
yeah.
no. This is not a porn site, but maybe it is if you really, really like milk. But
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
this is quite a fancy web page for a company that just makes fake milk. I was going to
Well,
say
they are
fake
tech based, you know, so they gotta
Well,
be good
yeah.
with the machine. That's where it
Yeah.
all. And then it's all about who's programming the machine that programs the microbes. You know, where you'll never know what this stuff really is and what it really includes. Like that Josh Tetrick guy, the Just Foods, where they've been sending their porridge to the poor people in Africa for a long time. Their porridge, the power gari, and he wanted to, for all of their stuff, he wants to be able to tailor, or he says they can tailor for the micronutrient profile, including fluoride and who knows what else, you know, whatever the Kraft Heinz or whoever wants.
Because if it's like they're obviously sticking their own sort of brand label on it, Cellular.
Yeah.
But this kind of automated system could just have extra stuff added into it.
Totally.
Yeah, and it would become intrinsically part of it because it's been grown from the cell upwards. So it's not like, you know, throwing in a tin of goop halfway through the processing. It's going to end up being part of the cellular structure of the actual contents.
But all this stuff, it'll be non-GMO because the final product will be a molecular equivalent. It will not include any of the genetic material of those production microbes. So it'll be all good. And it could,
be labeled even as organic.
Oh yeah. It's
no doubt.
These words will be turned into such trickery, or they already have been, man. Every time somebody tells me they read the ingredients and that it looked good, I'm just like, oh, but it doesn't matter anymore.
I can't highlight
none of
it.
it matters. They changed the rules 5 times since the pandemic for was it the FDA, the rules on the ingredient list.
Yeah.
They can substitute anything they want without telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's an emergency, guys.
Cricket protein, and you won't even know it.
Yeah, and will they really be crickets, or will they be cricket cells?
Exactly.
I can't
Eventually, you'll
think
just
of a
feed
name.
yourself.
Yeah.
They'll just feed you.
Or the school children that they're sampling right now.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah.
Circular food chain.
Everything's circular now.
Yeah.
So we're going. Just like the steaks you've got there.
I don't remember a name. One of the FDA spokespeople mentioned that in a news interview. No, I can't think of a name now. I remember that it was doing the rounds a few weeks ago. The other thing I was going to point out, I can't exactly highlight it because it's on this graphic. It's the fact that they've labelled it as the autonomous cellular factoring brain. Well, that again, just to reiterate the fact, you're talking about software. So somebody has programmed that software, so the program within that process could be altered at any point. So
somebody did, or a machine did. You know, they might have wrote like a beginning program, but I wouldn't put it past the machine to have some input.
Well, speculating on potential directions this could go in the future. So what happens when the machine decides to put certain contents in our food because it thinks it's going to be good for us, or whatever reason, maybe it's had enough of us and wants to eradicate us, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. They've done a study and they see that the people who consume this brand are bad people. Yeah. So they should include something.
Why would Skynet go to all the effort of building Terminator machines when it could just add a poison into our crappy food diet?
Yeah. Yep.
What's this one? Dizine.
That's that Ouroboros, or the human steaks that
the circular
make your own
steak.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what they call a steak?
It was an art project, wasn't it? Or it was
Yeah.
a piece of, yeah.
That's not even an appetizer. Man, if
Yeah.
that's all
I
I'm going
know.
to get out of their machine, I'll be starving within a few
It's
days.
sustainable.
Yeah.
It's all about sustainability. You will sustain hunger.
Yeah, this is the modern dietary ration requirements.
Well, if you want
Well, it's gonna
more,
be, they're going to go after obesity.
yeah,
They're going to reduce calorie intakes. They're going to make it. I mean, especially in the UK, with Boris Johnson. I was too fat because he got the coronavirus. It was always it was talking about the average calorie intake of citizens, and they're definitely going to, when the food shortages come around. I think next year, 2022, with the soil and green timing, you'll have calorie limits put in place, and you'll have water limits put in place, and all that stuff. And
that 50-liter home where all your water is recycled.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it would give people the incentive to give their compost to the composting system and all their things, and to take it out of their backyard, and however they might be using their stuff, because maybe the more that they put in, the more the calories they'll get out. They'll get a bigger piece of steak if they gave enough to
more credits.
Yeah, more credits for
credit card
for the machine to print it for you.
Calorie credits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like in Plandopolis.
Yeah.
Except you won't have to go somewhere to get it. It'll be right there on your counter.
Paid in portions. The amount of portions you receive today is based on what you put in.
But I feel like the one open source thing I was saying earlier, that I thought it was like Shojin Meats or something like that. I want to say it was Japanese. I'm not sure.
That looks so unpleasant.
Looks like a Jello shooter.
Yeah, but with something wrong in it.
Well, and how this was 2020, this article, but they've been talking about this exact thing for a while, right? And now they've got all these fungal what is the word? The backbones that they can grow these cells on to make it steaky.
Scaffold.
And scaffold, that's the word, yeah. And molds of fungi and things, which they can make building blocks out of those too. They can do all kinds of stuff. They're crazy. And they this is what they want everybody to eat. And this is that the ancient future, maybe, that Lucian and his friends are pushing us towards this. They've designed it just like talk about in 2001 how they have the iPads. Well, they planned for it, and then they built it. They said they wanted these things, and then they made them. Or maybe they had them back then. I don't know. And we didn't know about it.
Maybe. I think they were advanced theorizing that they would be able to. They may not necessarily have had the tech directly then to put one together, but they knew that the technology they had currently to hand would eventually lead to that development.
It's like Lucian talks about how his notion was based off of the original moonshot and getting to the moon, and how they said in a decade we'll get there, and then they just had to reverse engineer. They knew where they wanted to go and how to do it. And it reminds me also of Ray Kurzweil's all his predictions that came true. It's like, well, did you set to work on those, and that's why your prediction came true?
Well, I made quite a few predictions last year, and most of them have come true. It doesn't mean, I engineered them.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It just means you can look at, the way things are developing, and you can make an educated guess. You can.
Well, Kurzweil's like one of the head engineers at Google. So
yeah, you can calculate probabilities, and certainly being inside the workings of the Google, the Skynet, absolutely. He was probably just reciting what the Google brain algorithm was telling him. Yeah. Because they've been working on that kind of stuff near enough since they started. I think there's a certain amount of evidence that sort of points in that direction, that was the intended purpose right from the beginning of Google. The reason they wrote the search algorithm was to help educate an AI algorithm structure that they'd built. So it wasn't because they thought, oh yeah, look, the marketplace could really do with a new search engine that we know will be really good at doing the job. No, they wanted a search engine to gather data to feed into their growing AI.
Yep.
And back like 10 plus years ago, it used to be called Google Brain Project, but I know it changed a few years ago. I think it might be called Google Mind now. I know I did hear somebody talking about it a while ago, but anyway, yeah. they are more, somebody like Kurzweil is probably just seeing the readout from that machine and going, oh yeah, it's indicating that this is most likely to be happening. Okay.
Yeah.
But all of that is still dependent on people continuing to repeat the same patterns of behavior. You know, this is a cliched point that I've been saying so many times, but if you don't want to end up in that technocratic dystopian nightmare, then stop repeating the actions that lead towards it. So in other words, stop relying on the technology to do various things for you. You know, stop feeding it energy and it will stop growing into that thing.
Yeah.
Like feeding the AI brain with loads of answers that it wants so that it can end up creating an emulated version of you. And now in some places in the world, the governments are changing legislation such that they can legally alter anything on your digital footprint. So if they want to claim that you said something, that can be classed as hate speech, they can just alter your digital history that's stored in the cloud servers that form the internet, and then they can point at that and say, see, you posted that.
And they'd have all the proof of because we know they can replicate your voice saying all the things. They can, everybody with the cameras on their phones and the cameras on their computers and the cameras places. They're saying some of the new phones, they're going to put the camera behind the screen so you can't even cover the front facing camera. But all that they can build the video of you and prove it. You did it. You were bad.
Just like in Running Man, when they pretend they kill him at the end in the fight scene, to frame him. They superimpose his image. Sorry, that's an old one. You'll have to go and dig.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember bits of that movie. I used to watch it as a kid.
There's some good little indicators in that. Unfortunately, it's that guy who now shouts, "Screw your freedom." So, you know.
Of course. Always be
How
active.
ironic.
Well, he's got, Nazi ancestors, so it's no shock.
Yeah. All along, he's just been playing an archetypal role to extract money from a consuming public.
And he's the Terminator.
Yeah. Now the reality emerges. He's a flesh-covered Terminator for the Skynet system.
And we all thought they were movies.
Yeah. He wants you to do what the system orders you to do. Screw your freedom. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Just remain ignorant and accept this thing that we want to stick into you. I think I remembered all the links so far that we put in. I know I just did those last three. Was there any other links you had that you wanted to look at?
I don't think I had any. I'm looking. But yeah.
Well, mention the recent video you did about the trees. Yeah, and it's more than just a startup now, isn't it? It's a new business that's producing genetically altered trees.
Yeah. And I'm
So
sure they're
now-
not the only ones, but they came out of stealth mode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking of, because you can't exactly call it a startup anymore, can you? Because it's established and trading. So
Yeah. They already grow the trees. And I see all over my town this, I don't know what they're calling it, but it's this, they're planting trees everywhere. And I know they're saying that they haven't gone big commercial scale, but my brain immediately went to all those YouTubers that were planting trees and all this stuff. It's like, did they just tell us after the fact? What are these trees? Makes me want to go pull them up. So I see them all over the place. It's like, oh, what is that? What's it going to be? Because they say it'll be indistinguishable from any other kind of naturally occurring variant. That's what they said.
Yeah, the variant. I love the language they use there. The variants.
Yeah, there are other things in that the second video, not their little pitch. That was not that pitch part, but the one where the guy's talking, the one with he seems like he has a speech impediment and is kind of slow, but the one scientist, the other people in that talk, they're just, oh my gosh, there's so much sick stuff happening in agriculture. Like that Corteva, I think it's Dow plus DuPont merger between them is this Corteva bioscience or bioag. Oh golly. And they had a girl on there talking about all their things. And I subscribe to their YouTube channel, but I don't speak whatever language they put all their stuff out in. So I don't know a lot of what they're showing, but they show like grass-fed animals and pastures and, oh, we'll use this chemical and spray it on your fields so that you'll have the better grass that they'll want. And just, I'm sure anything for our food that comes from Dow and DuPont joining forces is going to be good. Yeah. And we should all just relax and go watch football.
Was it 3 giant companies now? It used to be 6. And all 6 merge into 3 giant ones now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's like, okay, we got DuPont and Dow, we got Monsanto, Bayer, and Syngenta, and the big China company. So those 6 merged, so we have 3 giant companies now.
Yay!
Fantastic.
This is going to be good for all of us, I'm sure.
If we could just merge them all to one, I'd be happy. Then I feel really safe.
Well, yeah, you could really know what's going on then, and
I know my food is good, safe.
Yes, and clean and pure and sustainable and green, and all the good words, all those good words.
Guaranteed, but with no liability.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you'll take on some of the liability because it'll be coming out of your countertop factory that you'll have to keep updated to all of the latest software boosts and everything. So if there's any kind of fault, it'll be yours because it's also going to be your waste, maybe feeding the machine. So
your body eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. But
you'll have to obviously pay a subscription fee for those regular updates.
Well, or feed them enough data to cover the costs, because they say that the whole economy, everything's based off of they're planning to change. Lucian gets into that. That was a pretty funny talk, actually. The one that with his gold hat. He's such a character.
Yeah.
He's such a character. Yeah.
But they know that will appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The flamboyant nature.
Yeah.
It helps as well to give that kind of dreamlike impression. You're not really seeing something in reality. You're seeing something fantastical, like a stage show.
He throws up the devil horns all the time when he's talking.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems with that kind of stuff because so many people do it unconsciously. Or they do it because they picked it up as kind of like a physical tick. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have the kind of meanings that I know some people would like it to. But at the same time, doesn't mean it doesn't have those meanings.
Especially because Lucian, he openly talks about what a focus he puts on the symbolism and the words and all the different things that he can do.
Yep.
He loves it, and he thinks it's fun.
There's also the kind of cultural differences that most people just ignore or don't want to know about. So that same hand gesture means different things depending on what culture you're referring to.
Yeah.
So it's just a problem in the Western media, and I've seen this for donkey's years, since when I first started getting into looking at information like this, or alternative stuff. There is just a preponderance of people referring to Judeo-Christian tradition and having an absolutist attitude of, if you see anybody do something such as make a certain hand shape or symbol or have a logo like a triangle on their web page, or they're automatically the devil worshippers, the bad guys. And it's like, that is just as much of an appropriation and misinterpretation in so many ways as what we complain about the bad people doing with the same kind of knowledge.
Yeah. Well, Lucian just wants to build a hive mind civilization, and he loves the Freemasons and wants to use their sort of way of building it to use the same techniques to build this new transformational game to change the whole world for everybody. But
I'd just ask him outright, are you a Luciferian? Because the majority of subtle cues, if he hasn't said it directly, but the majority of subtle clues indicate that yes, you are. So maybe it'd be worth just asking him directly, because the way the Freemasonry system worked, or the primary foundation of why it worked. Some people could argue that it didn't exactly work. They're trying to do certain things, but you look at the situation of the world and you say, just how successful were they? But the main thing that they will often repeat that they were attempting to do was to protect the knowledge over the span of time. And in the way they approached it, the core foundation of how they did what they did was secrecy. So when somebody, some archetypal leader figure, is talking about how they think the methodology of the Freemasons is a good way of building the new future, of having an interconnected and open society where everybody is equal, that doesn't make logical sense, because the Freemasons did what they did by using secrecy. Secrecy is not an open society where everyone is equal. Automatically, in principle, it can't be, because to have secrecy, that means inequality. Those who know the secret and those who don't. Otherwise, it's not a secret. Do you see what I mean? It's just non-logical.
Yeah. And then for anybody that would... Oh, sorry.
So just to say, unless the kind of system that he's talking about that he wants to get to is the kind of new world order, new normal future that we're often, pointing at and saying, shit, look, that's where they're trying to take us.
Yeah.
It's a pseudo-open society, but it's managed by a group of super elite who live a completely separate existence to the rest of the cattle masses.
Well, and on the whether or not the Freemasons or whatever group was successful, it does seem like to be the tiptoe, the slow play, the Fabian slow play, nibbling away at their enemies. Like they're not looking at it as this one lifetime. It's generational time for their conquest. Yeah. But he wants to spell. He talks about spelling the future because words are spells. And, he and his friends playing their new world game, their United Planet game, they'll design some wonderful thing where we live in our haptic suits and have AI and robots transform our karma, he says.
That again for me just demonstrates how you didn't really comprehend the wisdom when you came across it. You saw it as a tool to perpetuate the delusion you're already under. That might sound a bit obtuse, but nah, that kind of shit just makes me laugh.
And he wears cool hats. You know, he's a flashy guy.
Yeah,
Good
it's all
stuff.
about showmanship.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if all the information or storyline about where he comes from and who he's related to and how much money he's got and all that kind of shit is probably a charade as well.
Yeah.
Because often the biggest con men use that kind of overly flamboyant character, you know, because it is a distraction and it attracts people who are more easily, they succumb more easily to charm magic. You know, they look at the sparkly lights and the fancy costumes and the flowing musical speech patterns, spelling. So when he's talking about using spelling to create the future, that again is such an appropriation. Yeah, the power of intention, the use of communication to translate that intention from within the self to the external world. That again is part of the embodiment of what Freemasonry is supposed to be about. Yeah, the actuation of will into the physical reality. You construct the physical reality by the formulation of your will. So it's very much like architecture, like being a mason, being a stonemason, creating a building. In your mind, it is an image, and then you physically transfer that image into reality by building the building.
Well, they want to redesign all the life and all the structures and everything. You have the buildings even built from their life forms. So they'll be self-healing and all the things. They do want to redesign everything.
Yeah.
And under their pretty words of clean and green and sustainable.
Yeah. And where it becomes a contradiction to their supposed connection to the Gaia principle.
Oh, yeah. There's no respect for nature and what they're doing. There's no respect for life. There's none of that. And if right at the tiniest little life form, they don't even have any kind of care and they want to manipulate and butcher and enslave that and put that in you.
How do you build the technological infrastructure to enable him to have his haptic suit VR isolation pod connection to the new hive mind cloud-based society that he's envisioning? How do you create that actual physical infrastructure to enable that to happen? You have to go around the planet and dig up a load of shit like lithium.
Oh, yeah.
So in other words, you have to physically assault
Break the earth. Yep.
To create the technology to enable you to have a pretend dream illusion life of being with nature.
Isn't that something?
Asinine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just go outside and sit under a tree and connect with nature by that natural antenna that a tree is?
Not a CRISPR tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was actually an antenna.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, when you mentioned it earlier, you know, what else might they be adding into that? That is a genuine consideration now that they're starting to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How will it affect the environment that the tree grows in? Have they even studied that, or have they only studied the isolated trees in a lab?
That Jack Wang guy, he said they thought about it.
Yeah.
Well, trees often are a problem for 5G to work. So if they create their own trees, maybe they can make trees that 5G can go through easily. Yeah.
Or they can incorporate some kind of bio antennas.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's water content, possibly. I know it's living material that blocks the signal.
Like the millimeter wave sort of stuff has a hard time with water. Yeah.
Biological material acts as it causes too much attenuation, so basically it disrupts the signal.
See, that's why we got to wear our suits and be in their sewer tubes so we can experience nature but not disrupt the signal, so that everybody can have that same democratized experience no matter where they are.
Yeah.
It's not fair otherwise.
You remember that scene in Soylent Green
Yeah.
where the old guy is in the euthanasia booth and they're playing him all the scenes of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that's the kind of image he's portraying. You know, are you going to be in your haptic suit in a VR environment that replicates nature?
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's so asinine. You know, it's just moronic. So you want to experience nature, go out into nature. It's there already. It exists already. You don't have to recreate it in a dream world.
But isn't going out into nature racist, Cookie?
It probably is these days, yeah.
You know, not everyone can experience it.
Camping is, so it's got to be.
Yeah. Where they can get these devices and these gizmos to everybody, no matter where they are.
Mm.
Just rape the earth and take videos as they go.
This line from. Yeah, exactly. Let me read this line from the policy horizon. It's relevant to what we're talking about right now. Convergence of the digital and physical. Digital mediation is changing the ways we relate to objects. Haptics, augmented reality, and virtual reality allow us to experience virtual objects as tangible. The distinction between virtual and physical continues to fade in ways that privilege virtual experiences. The virtual world could soon rival the physical as a primary frame of reference. People who relate to the objects and environments through digital experiences could find the unaugmented physical world just deeply uncomfortable, but they might also bring creative thinking to their interactions with physical objects and spaces. The way we see value could also shift, making virtual goods and economies as important as their physical counterparts.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
Makes me the digital goods makes me think of those EFTs, those the
NFT.
like digital NFT, yeah. And they said that was just about getting people that used to that transaction, not about how you own that little thing.
I think it's more about, or it was primarily about establishing copyright law in the digital virtual space.
Yeah.
So they're sort of creating test case principles to say, look, we can use the technology to create this one-off copyrighted thing. That is an immense incentive for people to generate economic systems within the digital space, you know, things that are never ever exist in real life in any way. Like the game, I don't know if it's still going. It's not exactly a game. They called it a game, but it was a software system called Second Life.
Was that Ray Kurzweil's son? I thought did that.
I'm not sure. I think it might have been. Yeah. I know he had some kind of connections. But yeah, it was basically just a virtual world that people could buy virtual land space within the server world. So you paid a certain amount, it was like a membership fee kind of thing, and that gave you a plot of digital land. Yeah.
It's so funny because at the same time that Lucian's talking about how all of these groups, the Freemasons and everybody, talking about how important it is to share physical space to be able to make these changes. You know, you have to be in the same space, not just a digital space. So maybe that would work too. I don't know. You know,
coincidentally, Second Life got its it kind of took off right when the first SARS came out.
Really?
17 years ago.
Yeah,
nice. Nice.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
It was about that time, wasn't it? Yeah. So they were getting the public ready to be in isolation in their haptic suits, connected to a virtual world. Yeah.
But you'll be happy.
Your Second Life
there'll
is
be
their
ice
digital
cream.
twin.
Yeah, and there'll be ice cream.
Yeah, but it'll be ice cream that you grow yourself out of your little device on your countertop. Yeah.
Yeah. Who in the family has, if you have a family, who's got the best milk glands, and you can sell it.
No.
We can all lactate. Make our own
that's
ice cream and steaks.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, that's.
I gotta go.
On that note,
it's too much. I know, right? Yeah.
That's got to be worth a comedy skit by somebody out there. You know, that makes such a good dark
Faceless,
comedy skit.
Make a cartoon.
Yeah, Faceless. It'd be great. With some
Wherever you
clumpy
are.
doom.
Clumpy
Here
Doom.
is a portrayal of the wonderful future that we're all heading towards. There's just this scene of a family in the kitchen arguing over whose milk is going to be used today.
Oh my word.
Right. Yeah. Okay then.
If you have an interracial couple, you could have a chocolate swirl.
Whoa.
Vanilla chocolate swirl.
Goodness.
Right. I've got to show that meme again, just to sort of finish up with, because just that, that concept alone is enough to say, even in the Twilight Zone, things weren't this fucked up. So we'll leave it at that, then we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining in, guys. I need, because I was rushing to set up the live stream, I need to add the links in the info box underneath, but I'll do that straight after.
And I'll throw them all together and they'll be... Yeah, there's people over there.
Did we get any viewers? I can't see at all because, I don't know, it says some locations you can't view. It's like some destinations won't get comments, so I don't get any comments apparently.
Yeah, there was.
I guess I'm too far east.
I think we're at 14 currently watching. So thanks everyone for tuning in. It's the usual suspects in the chat. Hello to everyone in the chat.
Hello.
Hello. Pete says the Google AI is now called Cloud AI.
Oh.
So if you want to have a search to check that out. So yeah, it is still going. It's been going for like around nearly 20 years, I think. The development of that. So expect Skynet to emerge soon. Yeah, hello to everyone else in the chat room. Thanks for joining us this evening for a general conversation about a lot of the things that have been happening in the background while everybody's been talking about the COVID-19.
Yeah, there's other stuff.
Yeah.
There's lots going on.
The biotech is still rapidly advancing, and it's installing itself in various different ways. So we need to still keep an eye on that stuff and keep discussing it so that it doesn't get missed. It doesn't get overlooked by the majority of people unaware that it's happening.
Yeah, they say that if you're not paying attention to you when this comes out in the open, it's going to smack you in the face. It's just
when you
stealthy.
combine it onto the tail end of the situation we've been going through for the last 18 months. The fact that they're now starting to admit there will be food shortages and logistic delays and stuff like that makes a really good opportune time for them to start introducing these things. And they have been to a large degree over the past several months with things like the lab grown meat and fake burgers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
and if all the rollout of those was anything, it'll come fast. If it showed us anything. So
So thanks for the chat, guys. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Sorry it took so long to get back again. I know, right? Run away.
Move out of the city as fast as you can. Your chance is running out. I got out just in time, and if you're just fast enough, you guys can get out too.
Yeah.
Find a way. I'm telling you.
Got a nice big lake as well where you are, aren't you? And
so
that's cool.
Beautiful views. Yeah.
Yeah, I got some more cool footage to upload.
Cool. Okay, well, I'll say goodnight at that point. Thanks for joining us again, folks. We will be back again to do another one of these soon enough, so we will see you again soon.
Bye.
Thanks. Good cheese.